Ron, I'll let you go first, and then Folsey will bat second. What are you doing this offseason? What's your top priority?
You know, maybe making Tomlin do something with his coaching staff. I would think. I don't know what he thinks of Matt Canada. I do think there's a much better chance Canada comes back now than I used to, but I still think Art might step in and say, Mike, you got to do a couple things with your staff. His dad did that with Chuck Noll. Um, I would think that would be it.
And even he did it with Tomlin,
And he did.
with
Yeah, with
Arians, right?
Arians, right, right.
Folsey?
The staff's not a bad call, but I'll also say that I want him to beef up the trenches, both sides, defensive line and offensive line. Put some legitimate draft stock into your defensive and offensive line and get
He can
more
tell. He
physical
can
and
tell
stronger.
Omar and Tomlin that, but he doesn't make those picks though. That's not.
No, but
That's
I'm
not,
saying like the priorities.
Yeah,
Is that
you
what the
know what?
question
You
was,
know
right?
what? You know what that guy probably wants you to say. Fire Tomlin.
Well,
I'll bet a lot of people out there would like to hear him say, "Fire Tomlin."
here's what I said to this is one, don't even think about a Mike Tomlin extension. He has 2 years left on the unusually long extension that he signed last time. He's been extended with 2 years left before. Don't even think about that. Order a change at offensive coordinator and maybe defensive coordinator, and make sure that Andy Weidel, the assistant GM, is more than just a voice. Give him real power in personnel decisions. What do you think of those?
I think all three of them. I could live with all three of those. Yeah, Weidel's going to be a key guy in this whole thing if he's given enough clout.
Yes. Right? And man, is it a critical draft year. They're going to have draft capital like they haven't had. When's the last time they had 3 picks in the top 35
No matter
or whatever
where they finish, they're going to get that high second round pick with the Bears.
Yes.
Even if they finish in the middle of the pack, if they go 7-10, something like that, middle of the pack, they are going to still get that Bears high pick in the second round.
Right.
There's some important pieces they need to add, and they're going to have the capital to do it.
Now, when you say Art should step in and order changes on the staff, are you with me then that they should be at definitely offensive coordinator and maybe defensive coordinator? Or what staff changes do you mean?
I don't know how I guess this offensive line coach has done okay. These guys have seemingly gotten better. Yeah, probably the offensive coordinator, although now we don't know if Pickett's going to play again, when, how much. Is he going to get better? I think there's a better chance that Canada comes back now than I did 3 or 4 weeks ago, but I still not 100%
Should
sure.
he?
Unless they play lights out down the stretch and Pickett just takes off, I would say no. Now, if Pickett plays really good and gets better and better and better, it's going to be hard to make that change.
Folsey?
I would be open to moving both coordinators, honestly. I don't see
but
why.
Is Tomlin the coordinator?
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah, right.
That's another area he can step in on. I mean, my God, he's got 2 other guys who are legitimate defensive coordinators.
I have no idea what Brian Flores does.
Me neither. But
what does Terrell Austin do, for that matter?
I don't know. I don't know what the breakdown is as far as who makes the calls on game days, how the game plan is drawn up. What I do know is that they've improved their personnel. They have over last season. I believe that defensively, and yet they're getting bludgeoned in the run game. And if I'm Art, I'm just up in arms about that.
Have they improved their personnel on defense?
They have. That's defensive line.
Jack is a little better than Schobert was.
Ogunjobi's better than what they have.
But he's been hurt all year.
I mean, he's played. How many games has he played?
Yeah, but I don't know how effective he has been.
I think he's been pretty good. He's been better
played.
than, look at the guys. I mean, they were 7th in the league against the run going into that game.
But as we
so they've
pointed
definitely
out,
gotten better.
Teams are throwing it on them more.
Sure.
Which adds
Miles Jack is an upgrade. Highsmith is better than he was last year. Ogunjobi is an upgrade. And I think the guys, even Levi, well, maybe not. Levi Wallace over Hayden. I think in the front 7, the personnel, to me anyway, is clearly better. Yet the results are worse.
I'll counter that. Cam is a year older.
Yeah.
He's a year older.
Yeah.
Is he still? And Watt, obviously, injuries have been the big thing with him. I've been just disappointed in Jack and certainly in Bush. And it just was so noticeable this past game when we saw what the Ravens inside guys did and then versus what
no doubt.
Did. It was more glaring than it ever has been.
Well, that's the nature of the problem. is they tried to improve the personnel. I think they did improve the personnel, and it's still awful at times, at the worst times.
You know, I think they really counted on Alu being the nose tackle.
Yeah, that was a bad
and
decision.
That hasn't worked out. I mean, he's at his age coming off a major ankle surgery. How can anybody be surprised that he's failed?
It's been awful, which is an indictment of Tomlin. But back to the offense, this isn't working. Come on. This is not working. It's nice that they broke the 19-point mark indoors against bad defenses. As Bryant McFadden told us yesterday, it's not amateur, he doesn't think, but it's bland. I mean, what's the goal here? Is the goal to have a Danny Smith-like special teams that ranks in the middle of the pack every year? I want to have a high-performing offense. This is not that, and I don't have any confidence that it will be with Matt Canada. This is the time, man. Pickett's coming back for his second season. If you're going to make a break and start anew, you better do it now.
You say bland, but Pickett is a rookie. Is it fair to think he's going to be a lot better next year?
Sure.
After getting some experience. So maybe it won't be so bland next year.
Maybe. I'm not willing to take that chance with Matt Canada.
I hear you.
Are you? Would you right now, if Art said we got to make a decision on Matt, you bringing him back or no?
Right now, I would say no.
And these last four games could sway your opinion?
It could sway my opinion. Now, I don't know if Pickett's even going to play this week.
Yeah.
If he plays and all of a sudden you see progress, steady progress, then I think it could sway my opinion. But as of right now, I would say no.
For me, my decision would be final now. What they do against Carolina or home against Vegas, now that it's sort of silly season, I don't know if Cleveland's even going to play the final week. Shoot, they've already quit. I don't know if they're going to play the final week of the season. And then at the Ravens, I suppose if you light up the Ravens for 40, I could be swayed. But my decision.
I don't know if it's on points. It's your eyes tell you. I think we've seen Pickett slowly get better.
Yeah.
If that continues, maybe a little bit quicker of a rise, I think your eyes will tell you that.
But would that be on account of Canada, or just Pickett naturally getting better, or the quarterback's coach, or other factors? I don't know.
Probably all of it. I would think all of it.
I've seen enough of Matt Canada's offense to not want to see it anymore. But more to the point, I feel like this is a critical time. Like if you don't do it now and you bring him back and it fails again next year, then you've really put a crimp on Pickett's development. I want to see a guy with a resume, but I think you're right. I don't know that Tomlin's thinking that way. I wouldn't be surprised. I've said all year I wouldn't be surprised if Canada's back. Folsey?
Me either. I've said that as well. I think if he sees any kind of improvement, he's going to bring Matt Canada back. But for me, it's just not good enough. Even the improvement hasn't been to the level that you want it to be. I mean, the offense is still struggling to score 20 points a game, even if they have improved since the beginning of the year. I mean, what do you want out of this group? Do you want just gradual improvement, or do you want them to actually win games consistently by scoring points?
I want to have a top 10 moving toward top 5 offense, a high-powered offense, and I don't think this is the guy to get me there. I just don't.
I would tend to agree with that. Now, we had last week, you were off. We had Pickett spoke about Canada last week.
What'd he say?
Talked about their great relationship. He loves working with them. Now, it's a rookie. What's he supposed to say, I guess, right?
Right.
But he went out of his way, I thought, Matty, didn't you? It was pretty complimentary. He listens to me. If I don't like something, he's okay with that. But again, is that just a rookie saying what he's supposed to say?
Where is accountability?
Does that matter? Does that matter?
Yeah. Where's accountability going to kick in, I wonder, this offseason? I told you the Danny Smith numbers that by any, and I saw new numbers, by the way, by Pro Football Focus ranks these things too. And no surprise, the Steelers special teams absolutely stink this year, worse than usual. And for the last 6, they've been in the bottom half of the league by Rick Gosselin's points ranking, which everybody around the league pays attention to. Is the offense going to be the same way? The defense, the defensive coaches, the head coach? Does this just keep going on? Like, where does accountability factor in this offseason, I wonder?
I think
they've already made 3 changes on the coaching staff after last year, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the defensive coordinator retired. Maybe he was pushed. They made the change there, although they promoted from within. They changed the wide receivers coach. They changed the running backs coach. I don't know.
Those are
They
really
changed the offensive line coach.
yeah. That one's more significant. The other stuff is window dressing to me.
Right.
And maybe some of those guys left because of your offensive coordinator.
That's what I was told.
And even the so-called change at defensive coordinator, did it change, or is the same guy still running it, the head
Tomlin,
coach?
right.
I don't know, man. If I'm Art, I want some sort of shakeup this offseason. This isn't about one season either. This is going to be their 6th straight year without a playoff win. This is going to be 12 years with 3 playoff wins. Do you know how many teams are ahead of them in that respect?
Even the Houston Texans, right?
Even the Houston Texans. You know, I mean, the standard has changed. And I think there has to be some accountability one way or another. The last thing I want to see is a Tomlin extension, though.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get that. Do you think there's any chance that after the year they have a press conference saying we're parting ways?
No chance. Do you?
Unless Mike wants that.
No chance.
I don't think there will be either.
Folsey?
No chance. He's got the built-in excuse.
Rookie quarterback.
And his best defensive player got hurt. Those are 2 huge excuses that they can make for why they failed this year and why they're having a losing season.
I know, it just seems like the excuses are there every year.
I know.
Or the reasons
These
are
two,
there every
I think,
year.
are semi-legitimate, though. You know, T.J. Watt is a huge part of their team. He missed 7 games and hasn't been right since he's came back.
But if you're that dependent
on
on one guy, right, I think you're not doing it right.
Every team has injuries too.
What about all the years they collapsed down the stretch? The Antonio Brown quit year collapsed down the stretch. Even the Duck year. I think the Duck year sometimes gets overrated, in my opinion. They were 8-5, and they were favored in their last 3 games and lost them all. They didn't beat a single playoff team all year. I don't know, man. It's not the way it was. That's the feeling that I get. It's not the way it was. Even the year that they extended him after, 12-4, they crumbled down the stretch.
That's when they were 11-0, right?
Yes. It was like 2 separate seasons. And then they got embarrassed in a playoff game. And then they gave him a 3-year extension. And I still remember Jerry Dulak's piece saying they did this for stability. They want Tomlin to be the anchor as they move on from a GM,
Continuity.
on from a quarterback.
Yep.
I guess next year is a pretty key season, huh?
Yeah, I would think. I mean,
for Tomlin's future,
Pickett's not going to be a rookie next year. Hopefully, TJ will be healthy and stay healthy. Yeah, I would think so.
You start to strip away some of those excuses.
Plus, you get those draft choices. You got to hit on a couple of those early picks.
Well, then we're going to hear all about how you have to wait for the draft picks to develop, and then Tomlin will have another excuse. What's the year? What's the number that you guys draw a line at, and say this is no longer acceptable in terms of years without a playoff win for the Pittsburgh Steelers? How many years before you say this guy's in trouble?
It's now for me.
I would say next year.
That would be 7.
After next year.
You think he should be in trouble then?
Yeah. I mean, I think there should be talk. Yeah, absolutely.
Folsey?
I mean, I think his seat should be pretty hot right now. Really? I mean, if you go 6, what's it been, 6 years now?
Yeah. 6 years, no playoff wins.
I mean, what do you think the standard is here? What are we talking about when we say the standard is the standard? Is that really it?
Not only that, they will have missed the playoffs 3 years out of 5. So this idea that they
barely
make the playoffs,
got in last year.
Yeah.
Should have missed it last year.
The idea that they get in every year is not true anymore either.
Should have missed it last year.
And people are saying, well, we can finally get past the narrative that he's never had a losing season. If he has the losing season this year, that's not going away. I guarantee you that the national analysts or whoever else, maybe within that organization even, will bring up, well, he went his first 15 years without a losing season, and then he had a rookie quarterback and he had a losing season. You know, like that's still going to be around. It's not going to go away.
But again, and I've said this all along, he is so much higher regarded nationally than he is locally.
Definitely.
We've had on these experts that, that think he's wonderful.
What meaning do you glean from that, though?
I think we see his warts and they don't see him as much. But I think we had a guy on from Baltimore last week who said they're nipping at John Harbaugh down there,
Yeah.
blowing fourth quarter leads. Harbaugh, to me, nationally, is highly regarded, right?
Yeah.
But they see his warts in Baltimore, and they're nipping at him. Now, this guy didn't think they could make the playoffs without Lamar. They came here and won a game without Lamar, which they couldn't do last year. So I'm sure that eased the heat on him a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I just don't know. I put more value, I think, in the local perspective than the national one because I don't think they have an up close view of the
Right.
ins and outs of this team
We
from year to year.
see all the warts.
And every franchise has different standards. I mean, if you're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers compared to the Detroit Lions, then yeah, Mike Tomlin looks really good because he never had a losing season. If you compare him against other franchises around the league, sure, he's going to look better than at least 10 of them. But in the grand scheme of things of what the standards are around here, he's failing.
There's no doubt about that. And even compared to all these other franchises, 3 playoff wins in going on 12 years. That's many, many lifetimes in the NFL.